Good morning, afternoon, evening. Today, I want to talk about something that isn't always easy, but is undeniably powerful: self-discipline. When we think about discipline, it's often with a bit of reluctance. Maybe we imagine rules, restrictions, or a list of things we should be doing. But what if self-discipline isn't about deprivation, but rather about choosing a path that honors our values and leads to a more meaningful life? Self-discipline begins with understanding what we truly value. We don't just set out to become more disciplined to check off boxes or because it looks good from the outside. True self-discipline starts with a deep sense of purpose. It's rooted in our why. When we're clear about what matters most, making choices that honor those values becomes an act of love and care for ourselves. Rooted in purpose is the foundation of true self-discipline. When we act with purpose, we're not just moving through life on autopilot or ticking off a list of obligations. Instead, every decision we make is guided by what matters most to us at our core. This sense of purpose is like a compass that keeps us on course even when life becomes difficult or the path feels unclear. Discipline, in this sense, isn't about following rules for the sake of rules. It's about aligning our actions with our most authentic values. When we know our why, whether it's our desire to be a better parent, to grow in our career, to take care of our health, or to make a difference in our community, we're no longer simply going through the motions. Every choice becomes a step towards something meaningful and fulfilling. Being rooted in purpose also means that we're willing to make sacrifices. We may have to say no to temporary pleasures, distractions, or even to things that feel good in the moment, but don't serve our bigger vision. This doesn't feel restrictive because we're not giving something up. We're actually choosing to protect what we value most. This clarity helps us to say yes to the things that matter and no to the things that don't. When our self-discipline is rooted in purpose, it creates resilience. Purpose keeps us going even when motivation wanes or when we face setbacks. It reminds us why we started in the first place and helps us push through challenges that would otherwise deter us. Self-discipline that is merely based on external expectations or pressure rarely lasts. But when it's fueled by something we deeply believe in, it becomes a source of strength and direction that we can rely on. Daily commitment, not perfection, speaks to the heart of true self-discipline. When we approach our goals or personal growth with the belief that we must be perfect, we set ourselves up for constant disappointment and frustration. Perfection is an unrealistic and often paralyzing standard that keeps us from making real progress. Instead, focusing on commitment, small, intentional steps each day allows us to build consistency without the pressure of getting it exactly right every time. Daily commitment is about showing up even when we don't feel like it. And even when the outcome isn't flawless. This kind of steady, consistent effort is far more powerful and sustainable than bursts of perfect action followed by burnout. By choosing to show up daily, we create habits that carry us forward. It's not about doing something big or impressive. It's about doing something intentional. Whether it's taking a small action that brings us closer to our goals, spending 5 minutes on self-reflection, or even simply resetting when things don't go as planned, these small steps compound over time. When we're focused on commitment rather than perfection, we allow ourselves the grace to make mistakes and learn from them. This mindset helps us to see each day as an opportunity for growth rather than as a pass-fail test. Mistakes become a part of the journey instead of setbacks or evidence that we're not good enough. Each time we recommit, we reinforce our resilience and build the strength to keep going even when the path gets tough. Commitment doesn't demand that we are flawless. It only asks that we keep moving forward, one step at a time. Boundaries and self-care recognizes that self-discipline is as much about what we choose not to do as it is about what we choose to pursue. Setting boundaries isn't about restriction. It's about creating a safe space for ourselves to thrive. Boundaries allow us to protect our time, energy, and mental well-being so that we can focus on what truly matters without being constantly drained by outside demands or distractions. In this way, boundaries are a powerful act of self-respect and self-love. When we set boundaries, we're acknowledging that our needs, priorities, and well-being are worth honoring. This is a deeply affirming choice because it communicates both to ourselves and to others that we value our own time and energy. Boundaries can be simple saying no to an extra task when we're already stretched thin, not answering work emails after a certain hour, or choosing to spend time with people who uplift rather than drain us. These decisions are small acts of discipline that protect our ability to stay grounded and true to our values. Creating boundaries is also a way to protect our focus. When we're constantly pulled in different directions, it's easy to lose sight of what's most important. Boundaries act as guideposts, helping us to stay aligned with our goals and purpose without getting sidetracked. They give us the freedom to say yes to the things that nurture and inspire us and no to the things that drain or distract us. Boundaries also cultivate a sense of inner peace. When we feel pressured to be everything to everyone, we end up spreading ourselves too thin, often leading to exhaustion or burnout. By setting limits on what we're willing to take on, we're giving ourselves permission to prioritize rest, renewal, and the activities that nourish us. It's about recognizing that we can't pour from an empty cup. And boundaries allow us to keep our own cup full so we can better serve ourselves and others. That embracing discomfort is essential to self-discipline because real growth and progress rarely come from staying within our comfort zones. Discomfort is a natural part of pushing beyond our usual boundaries, trying new things, and committing to long-term goals. When we embrace discomfort, we are choosing to face the challenges that come with change, knowing that it is in these moments that we stretch our capabilities, expand our perspectives, and build resilience. Discomfort is not a sign that we're on the wrong path often. It's a sign that we're exactly where we need to be. Accepting discomfort means acknowledging that some of our most meaningful goals, whether in our careers, relationships, or personal growth, will require us to move through unfamiliar territory. It may feel awkward or even intimidating at times, but this feeling is a powerful indicator that we're doing something significant. In this sense, discomfort becomes a partner in our journey rather than something to avoid. When we encounter moments of doubt or fear, embracing that discomfort allows us to lean in and grow through it rather than retreating back to safety. Embracing discomfort also builds our resilience. Each time we choose to stick with something difficult, we're training ourselves to handle future challenges with greater courage and composure. By not shying away from the hard moments, we develop an inner strength that carries us forward. This resilience is what allows us to persevere when our motivation dips, when things aren't going as planned, or when obstacles seem overwhelming. Instead of seeing discomfort as something to eliminate, we learn to see it as a sign of progress, a reminder that we are actively engaging in our own growth. This willingness to be uncomfortable also shifts our relationship with failure. When we embrace discomfort, we understand that stumbling and making mistakes are not only inevitable but valuable. Mistakes are proof that we are taking risks, trying new approaches, and challenging ourselves. Each failure becomes an opportunity to learn and improve rather than a reason to give up. By accepting discomfort, we give ourselves permission to experiment and explore, knowing that every misstep is part of the journey toward growth and achievement. Self-compassion and discipline highlights that discipline isn't about being relentlessly hard on ourselves. It's about approaching our goals with a sense of kindness and understanding. Self-compassion and discipline means recognizing that setbacks, mistakes, and moments of exhaustion are all part of the process. Rather than criticizing ourselves for every slip-up or moment of weakness, we learn to treat ourselves with the same patience and empathy that we would extend to a friend. This gentler approach doesn't weaken our discipline, it strengthens it by allowing us to stay resilient, motivated, and connected to our purpose. When we practice self-compassion, we acknowledge that growth is rarely a straight line. There will be days when we don't meet our own expectations, when life's challenges take more from us than anticipated, or when our best efforts fall short. Instead of responding with harsh self-judgment, self-compassion invites us to step back, recognize our humanity, and then recommit to our goals with renewed energy and understanding. This approach makes discipline sustainable because we're not constantly beating ourselves up or feeling like we're falling short. Self-compassion and discipline also means allowing ourselves to rest. The path of discipline doesn't demand constant action, it also requires time for recovery and renewal. Without rest, discipline becomes a drain rather than a source of growth. By honoring our need for balance, we're actually investing in our ability to show up with strength and focus over the long term. Self-compassion gives us the space to listen to our bodies and minds so we can recognize when we need to pause rather than push. Moreover, self-compassion teaches us to be adaptable. Life is full of unexpected turns, and sometimes our plans or timelines may need to shift. By being compassionate with ourselves, we're more open to adjusting our approach without feeling like we're abandoning our discipline. This flexibility is crucial because it allows us to respond to life's demands with resilience rather than rigidly holding ourselves to a plan that may no longer serve us. Self-compassion allows discipline to be a source of self-empowerment rather than a burden by helping us stay grounded, adaptable, and connected to our well-being as we pursue our goals. Strengthening trust in ourselves is a cornerstone of self-discipline, as each act of discipline reinforces our belief in our own reliability and integrity. When we make commitments and follow through on them, whether big or small, we build a sense of trust in ourselves. This trust is essential because it forms the foundation for self-confidence, resilience, and personal growth. Trusting ourselves means knowing that we can rely on our own word and that our actions align with our intentions. Over time, this builds an unshakable inner confidence that we can draw on even in the face of challenges or uncertainty. Every discipline choice we make is a promise kept to ourselves, a reminder that we are capable of taking the necessary steps toward our goals. This process of keeping promises, even small ones, accumulates over time, creating a steady sense of self-assurance. When we say we'll do something and then do it, we send ourselves a powerful message: I am trustworthy, and I can depend on myself. This belief doesn't require validation from others, it comes from within, growing with every commitment we honor. Self-trust also allows us to take greater risks and step outside our comfort zones because we know we'll be there to support ourselves no matter the outcome. It's not about always succeeding, but about knowing we have our own back, even when things don't go as planned. When we trust ourselves, we're more willing to explore new paths, try new approaches, and take on challenges without the constant fear of failure or judgment. This self-trust creates a sense of freedom, allowing us to navigate life with confidence and a spirit of exploration. Strengthening trust in ourselves also makes us less susceptible to external influences. When we are grounded in our own integrity and know we can rely on our own choices, we're less likely to be swayed by others' opinions or expectations. We become more independent, more aligned with our own values, and more focused on what genuinely matters to us. This self-reliance doesn't mean we close ourselves off from others, but rather that we can engage with the world from a place of inner stability, making decisions that honor who we truly are. Facing fear and vulnerability is an integral part of self-discipline because true growth and meaningful progress often require us to confront what makes us feel exposed or uncertain. Fear and vulnerability aren't weaknesses, they are indicators of areas where we have the opportunity to expand, to stretch, and to strengthen our sense of courage. By facing these feelings head on, we allow ourselves to engage with life more fully, to step into situations that challenge us, and to build resilience in the face of discomfort or doubt. Facing fear means acknowledging that it is natural to feel uncertain or hesitant when we encounter the unknown, whether we're stepping into a new role, taking on a significant responsibility, or pursuing a dream that feels intimidating. Rather than letting fear dictate our choices, we can choose to see it as a signal that we're doing something meaningful. When we take a step towards something that scares us, we are simultaneously taking a step toward growth. This act of courage is self-discipline in its truest form, as it involves consciously moving beyond our comfort zones for the sake of something we deeply value. Embracing vulnerability requires us to let go of the need for constant control and perfection. It means allowing ourselves to be seen, mistakes and all, and being willing to risk criticism, failure, or rejection. This openness is not easy, yet it's through vulnerability that we connect most authentically with ourselves and others. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we give ourselves permission to be human, to learn and to grow. Vulnerability is not a barrier to discipline, but a bridge. It creates the space for self-acceptance, self-compassion, and ultimately self-trust. Facing fear and vulnerability also teaches us to be adaptable. When we embrace these feelings, we learn to navigate life's uncertainties with a flexible mindset rather than a rigid need for control. We come to understand that failure or discomfort is not the end, but rather a valuable part of the journey. Through each moment of fear faced and each vulnerable step taken, we become stronger, more resilient, and more aligned with who we truly are. This process builds a quiet confidence that remains steady even when we encounter future challenges, grounding us in the knowledge that we have the courage to face whatever comes our way. Creating space for joy is a vital aspect of self-discipline because joy is not a distraction from our goals, it is a source of energy that sustains us on the journey. When we make room for joy, we recognize that our well-being and sense of fulfillment are essential parts of achieving our aspirations. Joy doesn't happen accidentally, it's something we actively choose by allowing ourselves moments of play, connection, and rest. These moments recharge us, helping us approach our commitments with renewed focus, creativity, and resilience. Incorporating joy into our lives reminds us that life is not only about productivity or reaching the next milestone, but also about savoring the present. By deliberately creating space for joy, we counter the tendency to become so consumed by our to-do list that we overlook the simple pleasures around us. Joy can be as small as a quiet moment with a loved one, the satisfaction of doing something creative, or even taking a break to enjoy the beauty of nature. These moments of joy may seem small, but they infuse our lives with meaning and bring us back to a sense of gratitude and connection. Creating space for joy also strengthens our self-discipline by helping us avoid burnout. When we prioritize joy alongside our goals, we're able to sustain our efforts over the long term without feeling depleted or disconnected. Joy acts as a balancing force, giving us something to look forward to and grounding us in the present. By allowing ourselves these moments, we're reminded of the bigger picture that our lives are meant to be both productive and fulfilling. Making room for joy doesn't mean that we abandon our goals. Rather, it enhances our ability to pursue them with a sense of wholeness and balance. When we intentionally invite joy into our lives, we reinforce our commitment to a life that is both purposeful and satisfying. This balance helps us stay motivated as we're not only working toward accomplishments, but also honoring our need for happiness and connection along the way. Joy then becomes a powerful ally in our practice of discipline, helping us to stay centered, energized, and aligned with a vision of life that includes not only achievement, but also true enjoyment. Creating space for joy reminds us that joy is essential to sustaining our self-discipline and well-being. When we make time for joy, we aren't distracting ourselves from our goals, rather we're refueling our spirit. Joy doesn't happen by accident, it's a conscious choice. It's found in moments of play, connection, and rest experiences that renew our energy, keeping us engaged and resilient on our journey. This balance of productivity and joy ensures that we don't become so driven by tasks that we miss out on life's simple pleasures. When we embrace joy, we create room for gratitude and a greater sense of purpose. Allowing ourselves these moments prevents burnout, creating a life that is both fulfilling and focused. By intentionally cultivating joy, we strengthen our discipline, grounding ourselves in a life that values both achievement and the beauty of everyday experiences.